Right now, the spring election is nearly a week away. We take a look at the state of the race for Wisconsin's Supreme Court. And
I'm Zach Hanley, live at LeBron Arena as we wait for a national championship celebration.
And later, the NFL draft in Green Bay is now 1 month away. What Jason Wilde says the team is focusing on to get the green and gold back to the Super Bowl. We welcome you now to News 3 Now at 6. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Carlson. Eric Franke is off tonight. Court documents reveal more about a local school custodian accused of sexually assaulting a child. A criminal complaint filed earlier this month alleges 40-year-old James Myers abused a girl between September of 2012 and 2015, starting when she was about 5 years old. At the time, the child was at a daycare run by Myers' girlfriend. One witness says there were at least a half a dozen times where Myers took care of the daycare kids by himself. Now, the criminal complaint says the girl tried to come forward when she was younger, but no one believed her, and she was yelled at. She spoke up recently after reading a book about sexual assault for school. Right now, Myers is out of jail on a signature bond. He is charged with repeated sexual assault of this child, at least 3 violations of first-degree sexual assault. He should be back in court April 28th. The Middleton Cross Plains School District identifies Myers on his website as a custodian at Cromrie Middle School. Now, the district tells us he is currently on leave and that, quote, "We conduct background checks on all employees before they begin working with us. At the time of this individual's hiring, there were no findings on their background check that would have raised concerns or prevented their employment," end quote. Well, it's a chilly start to the work week. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington for a look at your accurate forecast. And chilly but sunny at least today.
Yeah, the deceptive, if I can get my words together, the deceptive sunshine. It comes out, you think, oh, it's going to be a really warm day, and a little bit of a bite in the air because we had those strong gusty winds, and that's playing the rest of our evening. Those winds will eventually ease up tonight, so that's a plus. Temperatures will fall to around 35 degrees. When you join us again for the 10 o'clock newscast, overnight temperatures will slip on down into the upper 20s. Clouds will be on the increase and will bring the potential of an isolated shower as we go on into Tuesday. We got 45 in Madison, but 47 down the road in Middleton, 46 in Belleville to the south, closer to 50 in southwest Wisconsin, where the sun came out earlier, where the sun took longer to come on out over towards Beaver Dam. Temperatures stayed in the mid to upper 30s, which I mentioned last night. We'd be tracking that line between clouds and sun. Well, tonight, overnight temperatures upper 20s, right around 30. This is what you would expect for this time of year, and we're expecting normal high temperatures on Tuesday, approaching near 50 degrees with that tiny chance of a shower. We could use more raindrops. You got anywhere between about a ½ inch. In some cases, some isolated areas saw about 2 inches of rain on Sunday's very soggy weather conditions. Looking at our drought monitor, much of southern Wisconsin is under moderate drought conditions. We could use more rain. We have plenty more in the forecast. A glimpse at Saturday's weather system coming up in Maine Weather.
Thank you, Alex. Well, it is wildfire season in Wisconsin, and right now the fire danger in every county is low, but we've had an unusually high number of fires so far. By mid-March, Wisconsin had seen nearly 170 wildfires. That's 4 times more than a typical year at this time. The main cause is burning debris, brush, and leaf piles, but there is an overarching reason for the fire-friendly conditions.
Abnormally dry to a moderate drought for most of the southern part of the state. You add that into what was mostly a snow-free winter. When we have that lack of precipitation and we have extended dry periods, we tend to see more fire starts on the landscape, and it's led to a longer fire season. And it's only March. We haven't even got into our busiest time statewide, which is typically April.
So the best thing you can do to avoid starting a wildfire is just to be extremely cautious when burning that debris. Well, the Badger women's hockey team is back home with another national championship. Go Badgers. They beat number 2 Ohio State in thrilling fashion to secure their 8th title. Now they're holding a celebration at LeBron in less than a half hour, and that's where we find sports director Zach Hanley. Hi, Zach.
Hey, Sarah, yeah, you just said it. 8 national championship for the Badger women's hockey team. 8 is great, right? Well, the doors, they just opened them, and as you can see, fans are starting to pile in. There's going to be a celebration of your 2025 Wisconsin Women's National Championship team. They beat Ohio State. It was the third straight meeting between Wisconsin and Ohio State in the national championship game, and Wisconsin beat the Buckeyes for the second time in the last 2-3 seasons. We are currently waiting for Layla Edwards to get here because we're going to ask her a couple questions on, hey, what's it like to be a national championship or be a national champion for the second time in her 3 years at Wisconsin. So for now, live at LeBon, Zach Hanley, News 3 Sports.
All right, thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Well, it is now time to vote for the local veteran who you think is deserving of the Spirit of Service Award. Our partners at Vortex narrowed the more than 200 nominations down to these final 5 on your screen. Voting is now open on channel3000.com through March 30th. You can look for their stories on News 3 Now and our mobile app. A winner will be announced April 2nd, and that person takes home $5,000, again presented by Vortex. We're now a little more than a week out from the spring election. At the top of the ballot, the race that will decide the balance of power on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Both Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel are stumping in Rock County tonight, and that's where we find political reporter Will Keneally, who has more.
Now, as part of both candidates' efforts to get the ground game going in the final stretch here of the most expensive judicial race in American history. $90 million. That's the figure released by WisPolitics.com in the last hour of how much is being spent in this Wisconsin Supreme Court race. That's approaching nearly double the amount spent from Wisconsin's last Supreme Court race, which broke national records. And one of the closing arguments in the race for Susan Crawford, don't be outspent.
Well, let me talk just for a minute about my opponent. Elon Musk, folks.
Trump ally Elon Musk has spent millions of dollars in the Wisconsin race already.
He's willing to have the Supreme Court be bought off by the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. So I think it would be a really sad day for Wisconsin.
We're both getting money. We're both getting support from outside groups. And for her to make this, for her to make as much of a campaign as she has about the Musk money is, I think it is hypocritical.
Meanwhile, Brad Schimmel's campaign is expected in Rock County later tonight. On Friday, Schimmel was endorsed by President Trump in the race. He said, though, that wouldn't influence his rulings during a campaign stop in Madison.
I'm not entering into any alliance with anybody. The President of the United States or anyone, no justice on the court should be entering into an alliance. So absolutely not.
Reporting from Janesville, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Will. And again, that election will be held on April 1st. And we're headed back out to LeBon to check on Zach Hanley, our sports director with the Badger women's hockey team, back home with that championship. Another exciting one.
Yeah, like I just said, 8 is great, but you don't want to see me. You want to hear from Layla Edwards. You scored a hat trick against Minnesota and then one goal against Ohio State. What is it about you scoring goals against Minnesota on a big stage?
I don't know. I like to rise to the occasion, and I think, there's a lot of pressure, and I look at pressure as a privilege, and so I took advantage of that.
Bus ride back, what was that like, and what's it been for the last, 12, 24 hours?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, obviously we're back there having a good time, and then we get a police escort, like a fire department escort. It was unbelievable. I mean, we got it 2 years ago when we won, but something about this year was real special.
So take me through when you see Kirsten Sims hit the goal to send to overtime, and then she does it again for the game winner.
Yeah, I know when she was lining up to take that shot, I knew she had it. I knew we were going to go into overtime. I was ready for it, and I knew we'd have all the momentum. And as long as we capitalized, we were going to be good. Because you tie the game when you think you're going to lose. You got all the momentum going into overtime.
And so you win the regular season, you win the tournament, you have the Patty Kazmaier, and you're national champion. Does it get any better than this?
I don't think so. Not a bad year to be a Badger.
Right, and two-time national champion. Right. What's next?
Hopefully a gold medal and then another national championship.
All right, well, hey, we want at least one more. Live at LeBon Arena, Zach Hanley, News 3 Sports.
I love it. Thank you, Zach, and great wearing the net in her hair, too, or hat, whatever that is. We'll take it. Thank you so much. Well, there's still more ahead on News 3 Now at 6. We're talking about the Packers next season already. We'll get the inside scoop about the upcoming draft and who's at the top of the team's list.
watching News 3 Now at 6. Moving forward.
Welcome back. After 43 years of service, Morgan Murphy Media President and Chief Executive Officer Elizabeth Murphy Burns is retiring from her position. Burns took over the family-run company with her brother John Murphy back in 1982. She will be elevated to chair of the company's board of directors. Current Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer Brian Burns will take over as the next president and CEO, ensuring Morgan Murphy Media will be led by a member of the family, as it has since its founding back in 1890. Well, a new partnership between DoorDash and Klarna lets customers eat now and pay later. Customers who use the DoorDash app will see an option to pay with Klarna, so they can select pay in full, pay in 4 equal interest-free payments on a bill of $35 or more, or defer payment to a time that aligns with their paycheck. But what does the price of convenience say about our consumer culture?
You used to see buy now, pay later used for these bigger ticket items, high-end things like furniture and electronics. The fact that people are using this now for groceries, for gas, for everyday items. I think where it gets tough, though, is you get into this mindset of, oh, I have more room in my budget.
Right, when you really don't.
Exactly.
In the last quarter of 2024, Americans carried $18 trillion in household debt. Klarna says when someone misses a payment, though, they won't let them continue to defer. Still ahead, helping families pay for childhood cancer treatment. After the break, the creative way St. Jude Hospital and Wisconsin's Victory Homes have come up with a fundraise for the cause. And it looks like rain is expected to come back. Alex returns with the forecast.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6.
Welcome back, everyone. It is the unimaginable for any parents, your child being diagnosed with cancer. But there is a place that has been treating those children for free for more than 60 years. St. Jude Hospital in Memphis is a well-known name in this tough battle, and they've come up with a very creative way to fundraise for the cause: building a house. So Victory Homes of Wisconsin broke ground last December on a house which will be built and then sold entirely for the cause. And it's expected to be finished by June. David Remke from Victory is excited to be the first in Wisconsin to get behind the cause this way.
We are working and partnering with our trade partners, our vendors, our suppliers to be able to get the cost down to little or nothing on the home. And then when we go to sell the home, all those net proceeds get 100% donated to the St. Jude Children's Hospital.
News 3 will also have a chance to introduce our viewers to some of the people involved, a young patient with cancer, and we'll take a trip to Memphis to meet some of the researchers and doctors at St. Jude. Well, temperatures will be warming up for the week. That's a good thing. Here's Alex with the first warn weather forecast.
I think so, too. We actually warmed up today to 45 degrees. We were going for 43, but we got a little warmer because the sun came out a little bit sooner as those clouds moved off towards the north and towards the east. A beautiful, beautiful shot here with our first warn weather cam looking over Lake Mendota here. The waves are showing that it's a bit on the breezy side. Breezy conditions will slowly ease their way up as we move through the rest of the overnight hours going into the early morning hours of Tuesday. Temperatures will join us again at 10 o'clock in the mid-30s. As we go through the rest of the night, we'll get down into the upper 20s. Right now, 45 in Madison, 47 in Middleton, 46 in Belleville, 45 to the northeast. In some Prairie, if you keep going up 151, it's 38 in the Juneau Beaver Dam area. That's where the clouds hung on longer today, so they didn't get as warm as Prairie du Chien did. Temperatures up near 50 degrees still. Overnight lows upper 20s to right around 30 degrees. Clouds will be on the increase later tonight. Can't rule out a shower over far southwest Wisconsin on Tuesday with high temperatures up around the 50-degree mark. Here are those clouds filling back in during the early morning hours. We're not going to have full, mostly cloudy skies throughout the entire day on Tuesday, but enough clouds, periods of clouds, we call that variably cloudy, and there's that shower chance stretching from the Dells to Madison to Janesville and areas south and west. Not going to be looking at heavy rain with this weather system like we saw on soggy Sunday, but just a couple raindrops in the forecast. Soggy weather is in the forecast as we head towards the end of the week, and I want to give you a first glimpse of what that Saturday weather system may be like. Here's Saturday evening in that 8 to 10 p.m. time frame. When you take note here, we've got winds coming in from the east and from the northeast right off of Lake Michigan, and then you have winds coming in from the south and from the west, just south and and west of Madison. What that means is that we have a warm front that's going to be stretching right across southern Wisconsin. If you're on the north side of this warm front, much colder. If you're on the south side of this warm front, much warmer, and that threat for stronger thunderstorms is a possibility. As we go a little bit further into Saturday night, that warm front really just hugs Lone Rock to Madison down towards the Kenosha area, but we'll be keeping a close eye on that warm front because those cold winds coming off of Lake Michigan could push that warm front further to the south into Illinois, and that would take the stronger storm threat with this weather system south into Illinois, and maybe even a couple of snow showers as this weather system rounds out as we move through the daytime on Sunday. We will warm up by the end of the week, but again, keeping an eye on that warm front for just how warm we could get Saturday. Temperatures right now will stay conservatively right around 60 degrees. We'll keep a close eye on that as well for the potential for a couple of stronger thunderstorms. And as we head out into next week, staying breezy and warming up towards the end of the 10-day forecast.
Not bad. Thanks, Alex. Well, the main wave of NFL free agency has passed, and the Green Bay Packers made some signings of their own. Now, all eyes turn to the NFL draft, which is exactly a month away in Green Bay. Our Jalen Banks caught up with News 3 Packers reporter Jason Wilde on what's next for the green and gold.
We're essentially through the first wave of free agency. You're going to see the biggest contracts have come and gone. Let's just start with the initial reaction to the Packers free agency run this first half of the free agency period.
Filled two needs that were very obvious. They've got some offensive line challenges that they're dealing with, both in terms of losing their starting center and some guys that are going to be free agents after this year. And they need more help at the corner position. They probably still need more help. So Aaron Banks, the guard, fills that spot. He will walk in and be the starting left guard, and they'll move Elton Jenkins to center. And Nate Hobbs, they're going to use him in a variety of ways. They may play him outside. They may play him inside. But they paid him $16 million in guaranteed money, so they clearly expect him to be on the field a lot.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Jason. Jason Wilde, Channel 3 Packer reporter, and I guess we could call you an insider, correct?
Jalen, you can call me anything as you want, as long as I can call you former collegiate quarterback whenever I want to.
All right, sounds good. We'll have that trade-off then. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason and Jalen. And coming up in sports, after a second-round exit from March Madness, hear from an emotional Wisconsin senior class that might be the last of a dying breed. Next on News 3 Now. In the age of NIL and the transfer portal, this year's senior class of Badgers may have been the last of a dying breed. A group of guys that waited their turn, and when they left, took Wisconsin men's hoops to a better place than they had found it. Now, the season may not have ended the way that they hoped, but for a team that was picked to finish 12th in the Big Ten, it was their leadership that buoyed Bucky to unexpected success.
That's the main goal when I came here was just leave this place better than I found it, and I'm just so proud of them. It took a team effort, and all of us seniors, especially the guys that have been here for a while, Steve, Klez, me, Killa, all we wanted to do was just make this place the best we could, and I think we did a pretty good job, and we got some great guys in this locker room that I know can continue to build it in the way we want.
Well, hard not to get emotional watching that, but the NCAA tournament does continue for Taylor Stremlo and Tegan Mullaney. The pair of freshmen from the Madison area and their Iowa Hawkeyes played Oklahoma today with a trip to the Sweet 16 on the line, but fell short. Stremlo had 3 points and 4 assists, but Oklahoma wins it 96-62. And in case you missed it, UW-Platteville's Logan Pearson took home some big-time honors over the weekend. The Pioneers' all-time leading scorer was named the National Player of the Year and a first-team All-American by D3Hoops.com. He also earned first-team All-American honors from the NABC. And, of course, we heard from Zach earlier about the Wisconsin women's hockey team winning the national championship, so we didn't put it in sports here, but we'll have a lot about it later tonight. It's so exciting. Eight national championships is just unthinkable.
And it's so much fun to see all the celebration right now.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Well, coming up on News 3 Now at 10, sports director Zach Hanley. As we just talked about, we'll have more from the Badger women's hockey team as they celebrate their 8th national championship. I love the net on the back of her hair.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
I mean, yeah. he could just sneak a little piece of that.
Yeah,
back.
you always think about cutting nets in basketball, but in hockey, you know,
same
got to
gig.
do it there.
Exactly. And our forecast, at least, is warming up a little bit.
Warming up, a super forecast, a not superhuman. I do want to say thank you to folks on social media. I pulled my back out. That's why I've been doing weather at the little weather desk. I got a couple days before I'm going to have some treatment on that. But super weather forecast again in the forecast. Temperatures right around 30 for tonight, near 50 on Wednesday. Warming on up through the end of the week with rain chances. We need more rain in the forecast. More on that coming up at 10.
We'll take it. Thank you, Alex, and get better. And we'll see you back here on News 3 now at 10 o'clock.